Are you calling the right people? Are you watching the activity and making sure that your time spent on the phone, on text messages, or even in emails is to the people that you should actually be reaching out to? There are so many studies, but a lot of them are very, very historical. There's a 2007 study from Inside Sales at MIT, and I reference that study a lot when I'm training. However, that study has a lot of outdated information. There's still some relevant information. However, the way phones were answered back in 2007, and especially the way texts were answered, because remember, the iPhone had just come out, so most people were still on a StarTAC, hitting buttons 3 times to get to the letter F. So it's a lot different nowadays. And then with all the new technology, with call screening on both the iPhone and the Android, with the ability to limit the calls in to only people in your contact list, there's just so many ways to avoid calls. With TCPA protecting on text messages and CAN spam on emails, there's just a lot that you think you sent and they got filtered on the carrier side so you didn't even know they got through. So who are you reaching out to and what's the effect of it? Well, back in the day on these studies, they talked about 25% or so having bad information, putting in a bad phone number when they submit a form. And of the 75, that if you called up to about 14 times, because the average was, I think, 8.4 times to actually get somebody on the phone. But after 14 times, the point of diminishing return was so bad that it wasn't worth calling anymore. But if you called up to 14 times, you could get up to about 60 of the people on the phone out of the 100, or 60 out of the 75 that actually had good information. So a really high rate of return, right? Almost 80%. And that was wonderful, because then from there you could find out what their level of intent is, if they're serious or not. Now we're in the range of about 30 to 42 maximum on the phone, and that's market dependent. You know, the cities are lower, the rural areas are a little bit higher. So 30 to 42 is all we could get on the phone out of 100. Now, what's interesting now is that you're going to get 93% of those that will answer the phone will do so in the first 3 calls. So do you need to go to 6 or 8 or 10? Yes, but only in specific cases, only when they're showing intent. So those people that registered and you haven't gotten a hold of them in 3 or 4 phone calls, and they've done nothing after registering, they have not come back and visited the site, they have not responded to a text or an email, stop. If they're showing very low intent, maybe they're clicking an email open but not clicking through it, but they've done nothing else, stop. However, if they've clicked through your emails, if they're responding to a lot of the emails, if they're clicking on homes, if they're favoring it a home, don't stop. That's where it becomes unlimited. You keep calling, because it's just a matter of timing. They're showing the signs of intent, and they may be just simply not answering.